In the heart of golden fields, under a sky painted with the soft hues of late afternoon, stood a lonely farmhouse. It was home to a boy whose imagination was his closest friend. One day, tired of his solitude, he decided to build a companion. He gathered straw, old clothes, and a sturdy wooden cross. With careful hands, he fashioned a scarecrow, dressing it in his father's old plaid shirt and a pair of worn-out trousers. He placed a floppy hat on its head, and with a few strokes of black paint, gave it a wide, stitched smile and two button eyes. To him, it wasn't just a scarecrow. It was a friend, a silent guardian of the fields. He called him Patch. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, dancing shadows across the land, a strange stillness fell. The familiar sounds of the countryside seemed to hold their breath. The boy watched from his window as the world outside was painted in shades of twilight blue. That's when he first saw it, a twitch. The scarecrow's sleeve, just for a moment, seemed to flutter against the windless air. He blinked, dismissing it as a trick of the fading light. But then a low, rustling sound, like dry leaves skittering across the ground, broke the silence. The shadow cast by the scarecrow seemed to stretch, to writhe, as if it had a life of its own. A shiver traced its way down the boy's spine. The night was just beginning. The next morning, the boy found things amiss. A single muddy footprint near the porch, too large to be his own. The garden gate, which he always latched, was slightly ajar. He felt a growing unease, a prickling sensation on the back of his neck, as if he were being watched. His eyes darted to the field. Patch stood exactly where he'd left him, smiling his painted smile. But something was different. The tilt of its head seemed to mock his own curious glance. As the day wore on, the mimicry became undeniable. When the boy stretched his arms, he saw the scarecrow's straw-stuffed limbs shift in a similar motion. When he turned to look at the house, the scarecrow's head swiveled slowly, its button eyes following his every step. The warm sunlight did little to chase away the chilling dread that was taking root in his heart. The fear reached its peak as darkness fell again. This time, the scarecrow wasn't just mimicking, it was moving. Slowly, jerkily, it pulled its wooden post from the earth. The boy watched in horror from his bedroom window as the figure shuffled across the field, its silhouette a terrifying shape against the moonlit sky. It stopped at the edge of the lawn, its head tilted, staring directly at the house. The boy's heart hammered against his ribs. He tried to call for his parents, but his throat was tight with terror. He locked the doors, drew the curtains, but he could still feel those button eyes on him. He crept downstairs, armed with a flashlight, determined to face his creation. But as he opened the back door, a gust of wind slammed it shut. He heard a scratching sound at the window, and through a gap in the curtains, he saw the scarecrow's stitched face, its smile looking more like a menacing grin. It was always one step ahead. With a surge of desperate courage, the boy ran out the front door, circling around the house. He had to put it back. He had to undo what he'd done. He grabbed the wooden post, wrestling with a surprisingly strong figure. It was a chaotic struggle in the dark, a fight against his own creation, his own fears. Finally, with a monumental effort, he managed to drag the scarecrow back to its spot in the middle of the field and slam the post deep into the soil. Exhausted and trembling, he stumbled back to the house and collapsed into his bed, not sleeping until the first light of dawn promised safety. The new day arrived, bright and peaceful. The field was quiet. The scarecrow stood still, a harmless sentinel once more. The boy, watching from his window, let out a slow breath of relief. It was over. But just as he turned away, in the corner of his eye, he saw it. The scarecrow's head, impossibly, turned one last time, its button eyes looking directly into the camera, its painted smile wider than ever.